Welcome to the Game Informer Show, a weekly video game podcast releasing every Thursday. I am your host, Alex Stadnick, and as always, I'm honored to be joined by the illustrious, the notorious Alex Van Aken. Hello, sir.
Hey, thanks for inviting me back on, dude. You didn't have to.
No? I could have just let you go?
I mean, I guess, yeah, technically.
I like
you don't
like
have to
doing
do it without me. With me, I mean, I don't know.
I like doing the show with you.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's fun. I hope you have fun too.
I do. So I'm happy to be back, Alex.
There we go.
Once again,
listeners, we hope you have fun. Join us each week alongside a rotated crew of GI guests, GI hosts. Oh, I goofed this week. GI hosts and special guests from around the industry as we bring you the latest news, reviews, and big man swag your eyes and ears can handle. This week, we got a busy one, folks. We have Forspoken cover. We do a deep dive with Jill and Kim that you'll see momentarily. Jill sticks around to do some talking impressions of Assassin's Creed, the new DLC from Valhalla, which sounds exciting. And then we
Dawn of Ragnarok, I think, right?
Correct. Yes. And then we just say screw it and spend like 30 minutes talking about Elden Ring again because all of us keep playing it. So
it was great.
Yeah, good show ahead of us. I can assure you we're going to skip news for the week because we were going to do some Sony State of Play stuff, not a ton of stuff that we were super hyped about, and we have a pretty thick show ahead of you. So Alex, any comments, any thoughts?
Giga Clash, was that one? The Kaiju one, that was cool.
Yep.
Trek to Yumai, the new Devolver Digital joint looks cool. JoJo fans are probably happy about the fighting game I guess the remaster coming. So a lot of cool stuff, but nothing major, just a lot of like smaller hits, you know?
Right. And I think there's definitely people out there who's going to really like be excited about what Square announced, right? Square's coming out with another SRPG, which is exciting to some people. I think I was most hyped for the Returnal update.
Yeah, co-op.
We're getting co-op and we're getting I think it's Tower of Ascension or something like that, but it's a challenge like tower that you have to work your way up. Yeah. So interesting stuff as always, but what's more interesting though? Oh, they did show Forspoken, but let's just jump right in. Let's get into our impressions of it. Let's do it. Welcome back to the Game Informer Show. If you have been sleeping under a rock, you will know. Well, you won't know. This is rough. I don't know why I'm struggling. You know what? We're keeping it. I'm a human. We have flaws. New Game Informer cover is Forspoken, the exciting new joint from Square Enix, from Luminous Productions that did Final Fantasy 15. And I assembled a crew here today to talk about it. We have I said no to Inquisitor, but Jill Grote in the building. What is your nickname for this show?
I don't know. Let's go with like illustrious.
Ooh, I like illustrious. Okay, you may have to fight Van Aken for that, but you both can be illustrious, I think.
So. You're way more illustrious than me.
Today, I'm feeling it.
Yeah. and then of course, you know where you love her, K-Star, Kim Wallace. Hello.
Pow. Here we are. Ready.
We are ready. We are ready indeed.
What you got?
Is that one of the voice lines from Forspoken?
Oh yeah.
Correct.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Prey is sassy. She ain't taking it.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of Forspoken, Kim, Jill, and I had the pleasure of meeting with the folks over at Square and Luminous a couple of weeks ago now, maybe a month ago now, and we got the lowdown on Forspoken, which was Project Athia back in the day, right? It was one of the exciting showcase pieces from the PlayStation 5 press. I think it was the first press conference they had when it was like FF16 and stuff like that too. And we've seen trailers here and there, but I feel like this is the first really meaty like hands-off preview that we got to see. Jill did a preview of it a couple months ago at this point, something like that.
Before this,
yeah, but we got to see gameplay and we got to talk to the team, and let's kick this segment off with let's talk a little bit about the story and what we saw here. So Jill or Kim, if you want to jump into that.
Yeah, I can go ahead. What we knew sort of beforehand was sparse.
Yes.
The main character's name is Frey Holland. She is a New Yorker. She is in a bad place currently. Got maybe some law troubles coming her way. Got some bad things on all sides. She is turning 21 and somehow magically poofs and is in Athia and goes around and fights dragons and whatnot.
It's
As one is
basically
wont to
it,
do.
As one does.
it's basically a Wizard of Oz story, right?
Yeah,
Like
very much, very much.
she wakes up in a fantastical land, is like, I just want to get the F home, baby.
Mhm.
Literally,
And
probably.
probably to her cat Homer, who was like a huge star of the trailers, right?
Yeah.
The footage
Who's
that they've
fine?
shown.
Who's totally fine? Anyone
We,
who's worried
we
about
did
Homer
confirm.
back
Yeah,
in
we can confirm we asked that question. Me and Jill were very concerned about Homer.
Of course.
So
Yeah,
yeah, for
and
this particular exclusive viewing for Game Informer, um we learned a little bit more, and some of that's going to be revealed in some stuff coming up later this month. But what we can talk about is um we know that Frey lands in Athia, and Athia is having a bad time right now because they have this thing called the Break, which is a sort of like fog that's permeated the land, and it's turning everyone into zombies and like mutating animals and transforming landscapes and everything. And for some reason, Frey is immune to this, as is Van Aken's cat.
Yes.
Speaking
Yeah.
of cats,
Yeah.
speaking of cats,
Gets me every time. I love it so much.
yeah,
I haven't
but
seen her all day. As soon as we start podcasting,
as
Yeah.
Jill
Comes
mentioned,
in.
like part of the game is going to be figuring out why Frey is like immune to this break. Why doesn't it work on her? And because the break doesn't work on her, suddenly she's in this unique position where she can save this world, which is being governed by like these evil magic sorceresses called Tantas, who
Yes.
we saw the Tanta of Strength, and they introduced the Tanta of Virtue, Prov, at the Game
Justice.
Awards. Justice, sorry. Virtue, justice, they kind of
Just
go
in
hand
there.
in
Similar
hand.
things, yeah. And
But
did-
yeah, so it's a crazy kind of like fish out of water adventure. You
Right.
wake up one day and then you're like, I've got the task of this world on my shoulders. So Frey's like very reluctant because she's kind of just like, what the heck is going on? But to make matters worse, she wakes up with a freaking talking cuff on her arm who is just like causing her grief. My favorite part is Square's like, yeah, he'll comment on how you're playing. So if you're like bad at dodging, this little cuff's gonna tell you what's up. Be like, dodge better, baby. Do it.
Can you imagine that, having that in Elden Ring? I think I would have returned the game.
Oh, I can't wait till I get
Rise,
all the
Cornish.
bad comments. Like, why didn't you dodge that? Why didn't you? But he also helps you out too. He'll let you know that a spell's incoming. If you're lost, he'll get you back on the right path. But they kind of have this very contentious relationship because he's really trying to guide Faye and tell her, like, you are in a unique position. Step into this role of this world. And, she's not so sure that that's
Right.
what she wants to do.
Right.
It's you wake up in a crazy land and you're just like, I want to get home.
Right. And Frey is from a background where she's not used to relying on
Mhm.
people and not used to trusting people and having to kind of get through on her own. And so getting put in this situation, she's all about like, how do I figure out what's going on with me? Not like, how do I save the new world I'm in from this zombie fog, sort of thing.
Right. Yeah.
So a lot of the confrontation between Cuff and Frey seem to be that he is very much of Athia and he cares very much about its people and the land and what's happening there. And he's like anyone would be like, you could save us, save us. And she's like,
And-
nah, I'm
Nah.
out. Like, this is wild. There's
Mhm.
dragons, there's monsters. I'm not having this.
hmm
And something that Luminous Productions, when we were talking with them in our conversations, what they really wanted with Frey was an imperfect hero. They didn't want her to come in and be like, I'm going to save the day. They wanted you to see this person who has flaws, who feels like it could be someone or even like yourself who's going through their own stuff, and you're stepping into the, like, how would you respond and what would you do? And she's not always going to say the right things. In fact, I think when even the footage we saw of it, we should say we got like a hands-off demo of
Yep.
close to 30 minutes
Hmm.
of that we saw. And sometimes she says stuff and you're like, girl, get it together, like she's just trying, but that's it. She's trying to figure out a lot of things in her life. And I think, they call it a journey of self-discovery. Obviously, I think we all know she'll get there eventually, but she's not going to just come into this world and be like, I'm here to save the day
Captain America type, yeah. Like,
and always do the right thing. I think like that she's going to be an imperfect protagonist, and that's what we're going to see.
right, and I think that also connects to the Tantas, like we talked about a little bit, but like as far as I remember, they used to be good. They used to
Yes.
watch over Athia in a positive way, and the one that we saw, the Tanta of Justice, she was Prav, excuse me, yeah. She didn't care about good or helping people at all. She was scary.
She was, yeah,
terrifying.
Comically so.
We saw a cutscene of her, and guys, absolutely terrifying. And I can't remember the last time a villain had like that impact on me. She just goes Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde on you very quickly, because she's fighting herself in a sense, because she was, as Jill said, like of justice, the Tanta of Justice, and she, ruled on people and tried to be fair.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden now she has this corrupt sense taking over that's like, I don't care, you're guilty no matter what, and I don't need evidence, and it's against everything. But you see that version of her fighting herself, and oh my god, Pollyanna McIntosh, the voice actress, she's from The Walking Dead, just nails the role so well. I'm gonna tell you, people are gonna be talking about this character. I have nightmares of her.
And it's a little bit more cartoony than say like a villain in like The Last of Us, right? But I do think it works in the theme of the world not taking itself too seriously in Athia. So I liked what I saw, that even though there was a couple times I was like, oh, okay, that's where we're going with this. All
It
right.
reminded me though of the evil sorceresses that you see in like the Disney movies, where they're like,
right. Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody's gonna tag that laugh.
Yeah, it'll probably be me.
But
Clip it.
For sure.
But you know what I mean? Just like having that moment of like really embracing the evil and leaning into it.
Right. Yeah. So I'm curious to see how that evolves, and that's definitely something that made me go, okay, I'm interested in this game now, because like we said, there wasn't a ton out there. Tanta Prav inhabited this new area that we had not seen yet, and I'm not going to try to pronounce it because I always screw it up. Jill, what is the name of the new area that we saw?
Avoalet.
Avoalet. Thank you. Yeah.
Have a wallet.
Have
a wallet.
Have a wallet.
Have a wallet.
I could use one of those, honestly.
All the zombies just passing out leather flaps everywhere. It's weird.
Yeah. But this was an area that I think most people have seen at this point, the kind of deserty, arid space that they've been putting out there for Forspoken, but this was a little bit more, it had more blue tones in it. I think it was a little bit greener, that kind of stuff. What do you, Joe, what do you remember from what we saw from the new area? What stood out to you?
I mean, I like, so perfect. You're just doing all my work for me for promoting. I have something coming up, deep diving into all of this. But it is definitely a realm that is lush and green and thriving and beautiful, and it's such a stark contrast to this like dry, horrific, everything's dying sort of landscape that we've seen so far. But it's also like, it is like Prav rules in this particular area. It's her realm. So it is this sort of weird concept of like thriving and doing well, and that just being sort of a twisted like comparison to how things are actually going in the world. Like, it's a very interesting thing, and all of the, like, you still run into things that are mutated. You've got enemies that should be nice, lovely creatures of the woodland realm, but they're not. They're really not. And so it is just this beautiful space, and it's part of this big open world that this game is going to be. So it does give you a nice sense of like, hey, there will be some nice places to explore in here. It won't all just be featureless kind of dry desert.
Right.
Mhm.
And I think we got a sense of what is actually going to fill that open world space a little bit more, right? Some of the activities that we'll actually encounter. There are these were they considered the break in those spheres that came down and like gave like or spawned like harder enemies. Do you remember what that was called? Either of you?
They do have break storms,
Break storms. Thank you. That's what
which
it was. Yeah.
are those things that kind of roll in big, like billowing fog rolls in and things just turn up to 11 and everything's trying to kill you, and hopefully you get rewards that are worthwhile for that. Um, we do have a sense that the world has things sprinkled in it. So as we were watching this preview, we saw just like we saw chests around the world that you could try to open, and then when you tried to open it, things would attack you. Or we saw a little mini dungeon, which I'll jump into later as
Yeah.
well for coverage. We saw shelters called refuges,
Mhm.
and those, kind of as the name suggests, kind of safe spaces to craft a little bit, check out the world, get some lore in there. And guild towers or just guilds, also gonna be pointing you towards more information and more things for your journey. And it's hard to get a sort of sense of how big the world is and how full it's going to be, but they definitely have put some thought into what people will do if they're not, going directly towards the main objective.
Yeah, a lot of the side activities that we saw seem to either be um challenges for those who want to face like big bads and really test their skills with the system. And then the other point that I wanted to make is a lot on expanding the lore of this world. Like you'll see a bunch of abandoned villages that you can visit, and those will give you more information on the people who lived there. Because this was a world once that was populated, thriving, but the people who didn't who got stuck in the break, they've all turned to zombies now, and it's creepy. But there is a safe spot called Paul.
Sapal.
Paul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where that's the only place that people have gone for that the humans now live, because that's the only safe spot where the break isn't affected. And we were told that, Frey will be going back and forth here, really talking to some of the NPCs and getting more information through that as well. Like we said, there's another thing. What's the God, I'm trying to think of the name of it. I think Jill would know.
Oh, I'm ready. Hit me.
Oh, you ready? I can't think of the name, but like the academies where you can like look at scientific research or the magic research that
I think that's the
scientists
guild stuff.
that's the guild stuff. Okay, yeah.
Mhm.
So you'll find out stuff there, and you can look into their research and kind of find out more about this world and kind of maybe where it took some of these dark turns and about the people in it, which has me interested, to say the least. I always like that feeling of having a world that feels really fleshed out and thought through. And the fantastical setting, I'm
Yeah.
excited for it.
For
And the
sure.
nice thing too that we saw during that I really appreciated for like open world stuff is when you discovered the mention of a location in, looking through manuscripts or looking through like information of any kind, your map would pop up, and those locations would pop up in the map even if you haven't explored that area yet.
Mhm.
So you have a reason to go to that location instead of it just being fog of war. You have no idea what's there, but you have to like wander around, which, I think that's really cool. And especially if you're really interested in finding more lore, or,
Mhm.
you want to make some health potions because you're really low and you haven't been in this area before, you know where you can go to craft those. So,
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit more of a guided experience, but one I'm excited to jump
Yeah.
into. So, um, speaking of getting around the open world, one of the other draws of this game and the pre-release stuff that we've seen is the traversal, how you actually get around, and we got more of a sense of that in what we saw in the preview coverage. I definitely I think there's a lot of potential there, and that's kind of what I'm most excited for, right? Because I think I've seen some people online kind of bemoan the fact that it looks relatively empty, but with what we've seen plus the traversal mechanics, I think it'll fill more than I think people are expecting, right? It feels like if they nail it right, we didn't get a chance to play it. I want to, but like it felt like they're going for like a high fantasy version of something like Sunset Overdrive to a certain extent, right? With that very
Huh.
fluid movement, bounding up
Almost looks a
walls,
little
like that
like
kind of stuff.
Infamous to me as well.
Yeah, that's a good call out too. Yeah, I think
Infamous 2.
those are the kind of the high points to hit, right? But like we don't know, we didn't get to play it, but um, and we saw in the trailer too, right? Like she has like a water surfboard that she calls out to go quickly in water and stuff like that. So I'm
Just
curious,
looks so stylish and cool
right?
going
Yeah.
through the
Yeah.
world like that. Like for me, what it's going to come down to though, and so I'm very anxious to get actual hands-on with the game because how that feels is really going to be important, and how smooth all of those jumps are to get to ledge. Will be where the satisfaction really comes from of controlling Frey. So it's hard for us to tell up front, but it looks real cool.
Right.
I'll put it that way.
Yeah, it's definitely the high point for me of watching that
Mhm.
was like, oh, this could be, especially seeing it string together and stuff like that. I was like, okay, this is something I can really get into because I love, like I said, Sunset. Like I love some of these other games with the like Spider-Man has amazing locomotion, like Ratchet and Clank. I'm naming a lot of Insomniac games because they're great. But
Yeah.
Jill, did you have any thoughts on traversal before we move to the next subject?
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts sort of echo everybody else's. It looks fantastic, and if it feels as good as it looks, it's going to be like spectacular, but we have no idea how that really works in actual action, so it'll be great.
We
Yeah,
should mention there
hopefully.
is
Yeah.
fall damage.
Yes, there is
Mm,
fall damage
But
and
you can use a spell to like
yeah.
cushion it. So like a gravity spell so you're not falling
And
and
it's
hitting
not
it.
like you don't have endless amounts of magic ability either. So you do have to like wonder, is that going to feel limiting or restricting, or is it going to be interesting the way you have to sort of think about like, okay, I can't jump off this particular cliff because I don't have enough magic to cushion me when I fall
right.
and I'll die.
Because I think that's the fun of something, and that adds stakes, right? Because that's kind of the fun of Elden Ring is fully in my mind right now. I apologize, but like in Elden Ring, right? Like you see a
What are
cliff,
you,
and you're like,
Bantac?
no, I am very,
He rips off
yeah,
his mask.
gotcha, everyone.
There's gonna be another.
um, but it is that thing, right? It's that risk reward of like, that looks like I could make that jump, but I also have like 50,000 runes. Like, not in a similar vein, maybe, but like that it could add stakes in Forspoken, where it's
Mhm.
like, I could try to do this environmental puzzle, but like, am I really ready, or am I just gonna fall on my face? So I'm curious about that. Jill,
The
sorry,
I was
go
gonna say
ahead.
the parkour also is used in combat as well. We should
Yeah.
mention that that's
Mhm.
how you can get out of the way of a lot of attacks that are incoming. You can't spam it obviously because it is limited. But it is going to be a part of the experience of how you move around the battlefield and using it to your advantage in those ways.
Yeah, for sure. And well, speaking of combat, we also got a really great taste of what that is going to be moment to moment, right? We know that there's no metal swords, axes, any of that. There's no weapons, right? It is
Well,
literally
she has a
just
fire sword, let's
spells.
be fair.
True, nothing like no physical weapons, right? They are
Mhm.
magic all the way through. And there's three types of magic that we know of right now, if I'm not mistaken. There's attack magic, support magic, and then I don't know what they were called, the
I
big
don't
hitter attacks.
Yeah, super
Yeah,
special attack, top
yeah.
of the pyramid magic.
Square, if you want to use that, we've copyrighted it already. But Jill actually wrote a piece for us on Game Informer. I know we keep promoting your stuff, but as we
Go
should,
for
right?
it.
Um, where we talk about the spells and list them all out. Do you want to jump in here, Jill?
Yeah. So I will maybe not list all of them, but we did talk a little bit about the sword, which is called Slice. It's this very, very visually pleasing sort of mix between like a medieval like longsword and like a lightsaber. But that's just like this beautiful red glowing, and the red sparks drip and fall everywhere, and it's just really cool to watch. Uh, and that's like an attack magic, and a lot of the attack magic seem to have a sort of um, infinite ammo is not exactly correct, but like a feeling that you can use it over and over and over again
Mm,
without a cooldown. So you get a lot of shooting things out of your hands at various enemies, and they're going to do minimal damage, but you're going to be able to call on those when everything else is sort of cooling down. Like a support magic is looks like it's going to be things that sort of buff you or help protect you, things that aren't directly damaging enemies, but you can kind of mix and match and get some of the attacks and some of the support like helping each other.
hmm
One I remember in particular is like a water column that you can call up from the ground and just kind of stand behind it while people try to shoot into you, and you're like, haha, I'm behind my wall of water, you can't do
Yeah,
nothing.
yeah.
Um,
There was some too that did do some AoE attacks that I
Yeah.
really like that were
yeah, yeah,
really flashy and stuff. So it is an interesting mix in that way.
yeah. What was it? Oh, there were other ones that were some of my favorite things is just like stepping back and letting other people do fighting sometimes. So there's one called Legion that summons these like fiery soldiers who just attack your enemies for you. And I'm like, that's fantastic. Let's
I
have
always
more
like
of
when I
that.
can make people fight for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Weirdly
You do the
remember
work.
Cork really liked that too. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Um, yeah.
uh
So
yeah, and then we have these like super ultra fantastic magic combos that do something incredible, but you can do them like once and then you don't get them again for a really really long time, so you
Cool
have to
down.
really plan when you're going to use them, because if you waste it on like a couple of zombies and then later you run into a huge mini boss, like you're out of luck.
yeah.
And the one that we saw was called Conflagration, and I will save what that does for anyone who wants
Oh,
to
you
read
little
that.
Oh,
tease.
you teased.
Oh,
But
girl.
it's worth it. So check it out.
Yeah, there is a really cool in the gameplay video we posted alongside Jill's awesome piece. There is an awesome ability that you'll have to see to believe. So, very excited about that. Yeah, I was curious how combat worked in this. There definitely it's one of those things with traversal again, right? Too, where it's like I need to feel it because it looks great, but it's
Yeah.
like I need to see how these all synergize and work together. But the spectacle is unequivocally there with
Hmm.
the particle effects
Well,
and the
Square has a
switchback.
reputation of their games looking very good, and then, like I said, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. I think for me, my other concern is just, and I asked them about this, is just like Final Fantasy 15 was very much their first time tackling like more open landscapes, and they're calling this like full open world. So can they, Luminous handle a big open world setup like this and keep it engaging? Because, like I said, there's a lot of. We don't want like a bunch of empty areas, obviously, which is always the crux of,
Right,
trying to get that going
right.
and up.
I think yeah, that balance they strike with if traversal is fun, maybe that mitigates some of the things that maybe that mitigates some of the barren nature of the open world because you're going through it so fast. Like we'll see.
Exactly.
We'll see. We don't know. Um, Speaking of concerns, though, I feel like at least in the journalism space, one of the things that Forspoken became somewhat known for is questionable representation. Right, during your preview event, Jill, um, one of the writers said that phrase walk was hip hoppy, like it's
Yeah, it was the performance director.
yeah, like it um nails are used in a questionable way, we can say, right? Like, and as exciting it is that this is a black female lead, right? It does come from problematic roots of like angry orphan, like some stereotypes that we're trying to get away from in 2022. What did we learn? What did y'all learn from your time talking to the devs? Did we get to cover that at all?
So we did ask a lot about, obviously, we want to make sure to give everybody a space to talk about that and to discuss concerns and make sure those are being addressed. Uh, and there are some things that I'm still wary of, and I'm going to keep an eye on for that. There are some things that it may be a non-issue, and as we play, we'll discover like, oh, okay, this really wasn't that bad. As far as representation goes, they did discuss with us that they had used consultants. Um, we didn't get like much information in that vein, so I want to see really where that's coming from and where that uh how that ends up turning out. Because those comments, the hip hop comment was particularly worrisome. But it may just be someone talking off the cuff without thinking about it, and that's really the hope. And it is absolutely fantastic to see such a female-led game with the protagonist being a woman and mm, all of the tantas being women, and it seems like a lot of the important side characters also being women. It's really cool to see. So um, that is one of the concerns about the nails, because when you do have a game that's so concentrated on women, to have something that's stereotypical, like girls like that, uh, as a mechanic is weird and it can come off sort of unusual. They did talk to me about how that was part of Athia being taken from cultures like um Egyptian culture and that sort of in that sort of realm. I want to say Babylonian too, but I can't remember quite off the top of my head. Where adorning one's nails was a part of the culture and a way to show your status in that culture. And so they took that from real life and put that into Athia, which is how they do with a lot of different things you can see within the world, like especially like visually and artistic art history speaking, they put a lot of that into the game as well. So it's a very possible thing that that is where that stems from, and it just sounds really bad when you're like, "Hey, this is a game full of women and you get to paint your nails." Like, so it
Right.
may just be that it sounds bad in contrast, but really the game has while you're playing it some good reason for that magical nail adornment, and we'll have to see about that.
For sure.
Uh, the other thing I think that is I don't know if you mentioned this, but like I know a lot of people were worried about the banter
Mm,
and the amount of it and sort of the tone of it. And from what I saw in the preview to what I saw in this demo that we recently saw, it seemed like they toned a lot of it down, so it wasn't quite at the frequency as it was before. Um, but that's what you're gonna get. That level of that tone, that back and forth, that sassiness. That's where they're hidden.
right.
So if that's the sort of thing that's going to turn you off from the game, I didn't see anything that will calm your worries for that particular aspect. But you know, it's all going to be they're still adjusting and they're still taking in different suggestions and listening to people. So we'll see where that ends up.
Right. Because
Yeah,
I like a little bit of, I like the sassy, I like the back and forth, right? But like too much is too much sometimes. Sorry, Kim, I didn't mean to
No,
cut you
I
off.
was gonna say I am similar. I have some concerns with the humor. It's so hard because we're seeing such a little slice, and I think in the scheme of thing that those conversations between Cuff and Frey are really to kind of break up some of the more serious stuff and other things she's going on to bring out like different sides of her personality. And so because we're not seeing it in the full context of the game, it's really hard. But I think right now it is, and even with Jill's topic before of mentioning concerns, like I think it's always great to voice these concerns because they are in the process of making the game and they can go back and consider some of the stuff that they're doing. And then at the same time, too, they can be like, like I said before, it's so hard to call it on some of these things because we're only seeing a section of a game in the span of like that goes on for hours and it's
Right.
complete. So you don't know how one thing will go versus another. And I always laugh because I cover a lot of our RPGs for us, and I used to always tell people RPG demos are the hardest because sometimes people, and I think demos in general, you can pick a slamming section from a game that makes it look amazing, and then the full game comes out and you're like, what the heck? Or vice versa, you pick a bad area to demo, like it falls flat. And so it's always tricky to know based on these what we see. What I saw, I think there's a lot of potential with the world. You know, another good example is each region, you know, as we said, like was governed by a specific tanta, and they all have their own twists. Like, so corruption doesn't just mean ugly, as we said. And so as we got deeper into this area, we saw the castle town that, you know, um Ava wallet of like there, but it's all in runes, right? So, but what they did was really cool is you get up more into it, like the town is twisted completely sideways, and it's a cool way to kind of do that fairy tale aspect and warp what was once something normal and turn it into something different. But like I was even thinking, like, just for Frey to be able to explore a world that has been turned sideways makes for good, like, traversal if they do it well and right. And like I said, we didn't see an extensive part of this, but it just looked freaking cool. And I was like, that's a cool, unique, like, I just liked how everything was set up with the Tantas and showing different ways this corruption could take shape and not just making it always like what you'd expect. I think that's the other thing too. Like they could lean and go really campy into certain, you know, fairy tale tropes and all that, but from what I saw, I didn't get that vibe. I got the vibe that they're going to be doing some cool things to kind of mess with your expectations and show you like what's happened to this world that has just like this break has just consumed and changed everything.
Yeah. And this may be a turnoff to some, but like I definitely got like almost Marvel vibes a little bit, right? Where it is playful and can be fun and
Hmm.
snarky, but you know, there are some Marvel movies that do a good job conveying loss, you know, like more dramatic elements, right? So it's like that could be exciting if handled correctly. And you know, they have shown even in the time between your preview, Jill. When did you preview this game? A couple months ago?
Yeah, it was months and months ago.
It was
Yeah,
like before winter break. I think it was
that
like
sounds right.
December or something,
Yeah.
It was
Jill.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, they've already shown that they're listing, right? You know, they did cut down on the banter, right? They've delayed this to October, I believe
Mhm.
now,
October
right?
11th.
Yeah, so they're gonna take another 5 months, and you know, hopefully they can internalize that feedback and make this into something special. Because I think you know I was excited by the potential of what we saw, and you know I think especially with how busy the start of the year is too. Like I'm excited that they get to stave it off a little bit more and hone in on what makes this game exciting. So, um, Jill, Kim, any final thoughts before we move off of Forspoken here?
Yeah, it definitely has. I think Kim said it fantastically. Like there is potential here that makes me very, very excited. New IP is always great, and if a new IP is great, it's just this fantastic thing that because it's this new thing on the horizon that's suddenly now part of your repertoire, and you can look forward to it. Um, but we'll, we're gonna have to see. Hopefully, they work on a lot and they turn out this wonderful, beautiful thing.
Yeah, Kim.
Like that Square is taking some risks here and they're acknowledging like one thing that they said to us was when we went back and we looked at some of the stuff that we felt we could do better, narrative and characters were really one. And so they, like I said, they went out, got Gary Whitta, Rogue One fame, obviously, to realize the world and kind of start world building and deciding this. And then when he did that, then they got Amy Henning, who, gosh, Uncharted fame, Jack and Dexter, all that stuff, and um, to help then build the story even more. And then they brought in other writers, Allison Reimer and Todd Stashwick, to kind of go from there and really bring the characters to life, bring the dialogue. And I like that that's all like Western talent. Like a Japanese, Square is located in Japan. They're very into their for a long time, their main series have been Dragon Quest, Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts, and then they put spin-offs off of those, and they have a new IP here and there, but I haven't seen them take this aggressive of an approach and actually like tapped other people for help. That's like, maybe we don't do this best. Maybe we should find somebody else to help us with this. And I think the team also, I'll be interested. They did say half the team on Luminous Productions were from 15. So I think they had a lot of learning experiences there. Like there's some things that 15 executed very well, some things not so much, but at least they got their feet wet trying more things with an open world and realizing that they had to go beyond what they had been doing, which was like Square has been very and not a bad thing, but they've done a lot of linear projects and expanding out and like I said, even this traversal, I'm like, damn,
Right.
Yeah, you can see a little Kingdom Hearts in that.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
I like that, yeah. I think in obviously I've had a much shorter career at GI than others, but I think in my time here, I've found that the devs who are more open about the fact that they made mistakes or have learning opportunities, right? Those games tend to come out better, right? And I think if you have that mentality of I can do, like, we goofed here, right? We can do better even in this production process. I think that's going to turn out that turns out better more often than not. So I'm excited to see what the fruits of that labor looks like here on October 11th. So we got a little ways to wait, but dear viewer, I know what you're thinking. Oh, I need more Forspoken. We got you. Don't you worry. Jill has a lot of awesome stuff coming to the site. Kim, you do as well. You have an amazing cover story that you wrote that y'all can check out now digitally. I don't think magazines are out quite yet, but those will be at your doorstep very soon. I have a lot of 4K footage that I am going to bring y'all, which is very exciting. I love when we can get the gameplay footage to y'all.
And I have
a beautiful
nothing.
face. No, you got a cat. That's great.
I have some excitement for the game. That's what I have.
There you go. Yeah,
I'm more excited about the game than I've ever been after seeing it and kind of digging in and talking with the devs. Like I said, there are some things that we discussed that like were iffy on, but at the same time, like it looked pretty good to me so far. And if they keep working on it and presenting more, I will be interested to see how many regions there actually are, how many Tantas, all that. But gosh, from what we saw, like it was nice. It was nice to finally see this game more unveiled. Let's just call it for what it is. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so definitely go check that out. GameInformer.com/Forspoken, YouTube.com/GameInformer. You know it, you love it. Alex, my sweet friend, I'm sorry you didn't get to talk much this segment.
No, I was listening.
Do you want to talk more in the next one?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Okay, let's go to the next one. Welcome back to the GI show. Jill is still here, Alex is still here, but we've assembled a new crew for the playlist, the section of the show where we talk about the games we're currently playing. Guess what? It's still Elden Ring, but we also have something else. But first, let's introduce him. Blake Hester, the mad genius himself. Hello.
Hello, mad genius. I feel like I'm
One
less
of those words
mad,
is accurate.
I feel like I'm less of a mad genius and more of a dumb little stinker.
Okay, I see. You said it, not me. That wasn't on me. So, and then the news.
Were you gonna call me dumb?
No, you call yourself dumb. I don't need
You
to.
think
do
I'm
it.
dumb? You think I'm ugly?
Don't do this.
You think I'm funny? What's so funny about what I just said?
Like I'm a clown. I amuse you. Yeah.
Shouts out to Joe Pesci, friend of the show.
Yeah. Bro, Joe Pesci, come on GI show.
What game will we talk about with him, you think?
Hopefully,
What
like
game? Like Zuma or Candy Crush, Temple Run, something like that.
I was gonna say Godfather, the game, the Sopranos game, maybe. And then we have Wes LeBlanc.
Lawrence. Sorry.
The Last Guardian.
You haven't played this Last Guardian? It's the best, let me tell you. Wes LeBlanc finally is here, the news hound. Hello, sir.
Hello.
How's it going?
I'm excited to be here.
It's
another beautiful 90-degree day in Florida here.
All right,
Good
this
time.
is already.
I thought we stopped. I thought we were going to bring this back up, Wes.
Jacksonville, Home Alone Biscuit. Shouts out.
Yeah,
The main,
Limp Bizkit.
the main
Fred
claim to
Durst.
fame of Jacksonville.
Do y'all have like? Do you have a Limp Biscuit Day in Jacksonville?
No, there's zero recognition or like celebration around Limp Bizkit.
Wow, dude.
Do you know
After
Westmoreland?
all of their contributions to the music industry,
Do you know
that's how you
Westmoreland?
do them.
One more
No.
time.
This is
Do you know what?
I'm gonna keep interrupting while Blake's
Yeah,
trying to
no,
ask you
this
a
is
question.
good. Yeah, this
Do
is
you know Westmoreland? You just see
No.
him around town. Oh,
No.
okay. What about
Well, I'm
Fred?
having lunch with him on Tuesdays, so
oh, there we
Oh,
go.
interesting. Will
Yeah.
you tell him I love chocolate starfish and the hot dog flavor water?
we don't talk about that.
You know what
It
we
made
do
him
talk.
a multi-millionaire.
No, we're
That's
moving
all
on.
he
from-
talks about.
We're
What are
moving
you
on
talking
from this. You know what we do talk about?
Video games.
Video games. And Jill, you've been playing a DLC to one of the bigger games of the last couple of years, Assassin's Creed. You wanna jump into it?
Yeah,
The original one?
yes, the original Assassin's Creed is back, everyone. No.
Valhalla.
Valhalla, yes. Dawn of Ragnarok. I did get time in it, and it. Before I jump in, I do want to talk about Ubisoft and making sure everybody is treated well and having a great workplace, and hopefully that is happening, and things are happening towards that direction. And as for the DLC, it is more Valhalla. If you enjoyed that game, you're probably going to enjoy this DLC. Uh, some of the twists involved, though, involve things like you're playing as Odin.
Oh,
But
okay.
Odin looks like Eivor, so it's sort of weird for me because it's like you are suddenly embodying a whole new character that looks exactly like the character you've been playing, so that's always off-putting for me a little bit. Like,
Right.
no, that's Eivor. Um, and the narrative is sort of hard because I have all this time that I have spent with Eivor, and for me, her story, and all of the characters and motivations and things happening there. So I don't have that much with Odin. So narratively, it's sort of hard to like get into it and feel really
Sure.
invested. Because he is trying to recapture or rescue, not capture, but his son, Balder, who has been captured by a fire giant. So that's basically the whole run of the narrative plot. It does run about 15 hours to 20 hours
Okay.
long. And the plot aside, the game is absolutely beautiful. Like, the world is fantastic. You're playing in the dwarven realm, which I'm not going to try to pronounce here.
Fair. That's fair.
But it is this sort of fantastical, like, it looks normal. It's this lovely green, beautiful, lush area until you sort of look around and you see like the trees are covered in gold and the mountains are just mountains of gold, and you've got these like monumental statues, and just like the world is absolutely fantastic. Like, just wandering around is totally worth it.
Nice.
And then some of the other elements are they've added these things called powers. You get a nice little magical bracer that allows you to steal powers from your enemies. So that lets you do things like transform into a raven and fly around for a certain amount of time. You can walk on lava. You can shoot an arrow and like teleport. A lot of cool things. They're not totally game changing. They do have a limit to how long they work and how often you can use them, and you do need to like refill a bar once you've used something up. But they are really a lot of fun and put a twist on the normal gameplay. So I'm definitely high on the experience. It was a good experience. It's a $40 DLC.
Wow.
So you do have to sort of weigh that. I believe developer said that it was about 35 hours of
Okay.
content. Um, so keep that in mind. It's a good experience if you enjoyed Valhalla.
But it doesn't sound like it's doing anything to pull in people who are necessarily higher to that form, right? I mean, it's DLC
Yeah,
for the
I
game.
mean,
Like it, yeah.
Right. Yeah, if you weren't a fan of Valhalla, I don't think that this is going to be the thing that brings you back, but they are really interested, strangely, with totally new players coming in, which is pretty obvious in the beginning.
Okay.
So if you've never played before and you want to jump in for this particular DLC, you can. you show up, you get boosted
Oh,
to the
okay.
proper power level, so
Got
you
it.
don't have to worry about going through the whole story before you can jump in.
Well, that's cool. Does that? I wonder if that goofs up. Oh, yeah. I wonder if that goofs up. Like, if you're excited about it, do you like come back and you're overpowered for everything? I guess. I don't
No,
know
I
if
think
yeah,
you come back as Eivor and you're just
like
whatever
level
power
1 or
level you
whatever it
were.
is. Okay,
Mhm.
gotcha.
I'm
Okay.
so fascinated by the powers that Jill was describing. Turning into a raven, walking on lava, shooting an arrow. That last one, I mean.
No, shooting an arrow and teleporting. You teleport where you shoot
I thought
it.
there was a comma in between that. I was like, don't you shoot an arrow?
You
Like, I
shoot
think like
no, this
anybody can shoot
arrow.
an
You
arrow.
Bro,
gotta
can you
see
shoot
this
an arrow? Is that your
Yes, actually, I
superpower?
was in an archery competition
Bro,
in summer camp
you
one time,
keep- no,
and I won bronze.
I
Thank
don't
you very
believe.
much.
I don't believe. There's a certain point in our friendship
I-
where you just keep telling me things, and now I just don't believe the rest of it. Like
Me
you
and,
can only have so many things.
Me and Van Aken should have an archery contest because I am also an archer of some sort.
Merit?
Oh,
and
I've
I
done it
could-
one time, Jill. I'm not an archer.
No. Yeah.
I was just
I
defending
wouldn't
my
go
honor.
so far as to say merit, but I have certainly done it for recreation purposes, and I have pictures to prove that I've hit the tiny little ball in the center.
There we go. Okay.
My in-laws are from the deep country in the south, and my wife grew up with her own bow and arrow. So I feel like I could get some pointers from her family,
Kayla did?
and maybe we could be
Okay.
like a team.
Maybe
Yeah.
the next extra life. This will be
Yeah.
we have an archery
Perfect.
contest. Statnik has an apple on his head. It's
Oh,
gonna be
perfect.
great.
I like that.
I like that. I also didn't like how quickly you lit up at that idea, Alex. I think we talk about our relationship. Okay, so would you recommend this DLC?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Like it had a lot there. It was fun, entertaining, cool kind of garnishes and beautiful world. If you're not that big into Valhalla, maybe not so much. If you're kind of bulking at the price, that's up to you. I don't think you're going to miss anything huge if you're missing out, but the ending does sort of hint at this perhaps not being the last in this. It is called Dawn of Ragnarok for
Right.
a reason. So we might see more in this vein.
And this may be a dumb question. I'm sure Alex will let me know quickly. But does this tie into the main story? Like, are you going to be lost, or are there some moments where it would be better to know who like Eivor is and that kind of stuff?
No, because Eivor, I mean, it is very, very limited in anything happening in the plot.
Right.
It does take place after the other sort of Valhalla stuff, like the stuff in Asgard. But you don't have to know anything about what happened in that storyline to know what's going on here.
When is this out?
I believe it is March 10th.
Okay, cool. So the day you're listening to this, it'll be out. So Assassin's Creed, good podcast game to go wander around and listen to the show. So check that out. Jill, do you have anything written on the site about it?
I have impressions going up. They went up today, I believe.
Go. So cool. So definitely go check that out. Jill's got a lot of stuff that we're plugging here on the show today. I like it. You've been busy. So
I've been writing a storm.
yeah. All right. It's unescapable, right? This is what we've been playing, all of us. More Elden Ring. You know it. You love it. It's interesting. We talked about this 2 weeks ago. At this point, right? I think it's 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm more curious now that obviously we'll keep this relatively spoiler free, but we're not going to be as guarded as the last conversation we had. Because
We'll probably mentioned the first couple bosses in the game.
right, yeah. But so just know that we are going to talk a little bit more in depth. If that's not your bag, then go check out the episode last couple weeks. But I'm curious. I want to start this off setting the table, right? I want to go around the panel, see where everyone's at, and then we can talk about kind of our shared experiences. Because I don't think I'm speaking out of turn when I say like we're all in love with this game, right? Even you,
Correct.
Blake Hester.
Blake has no emotions.
It's okay.
Okay. Well, Hester, let's start with you. How far are you into the game?
63 hours.
63 hours?
It's all right.
It's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I play every day. That's all I do. Just play
Wow.
Elden Ring.
That is, what do you think your most played game up until this point is?
Oh, Call
Fortnite?
of Duty Warzone.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
hands down. I don't play Warzone anymore, which bums me out because I play Fortnite instead. But yeah, Warzone. No, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, just in general,
Okay.
my most played game of all time. But
Gotcha.
even then, that's probably only like 200 hours. I'm not some sicko who plays games for 500,000 hours. Little freaks. Get a life.
Alex, how far are you in Elden Ring?
I have rolled credits, my friend.
Wow.
I have beaten this video game. There is one more optional boss I have to fight, but I think I'm gonna. Well, I was gonna say I'd take a break, but last night I rolled a new character, so we'll
Yeah.
see what's going on with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have rolled credits. I have beat the game.
I know your hour count was goofy. What did Steam say you put in?
Yeah, my hour count got messed up between the transition from pre-release and launch.
Mhm.
So I think I'm somewhere. Steam says 73 hours, but I left my PC on for like 6 hours one day, so probably 65 hours is the hour count I took to beat it.
Got it. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Wes, where are you at, my friend?
So I played a ton of it in the first week, and I have not played since Friday because life gets in the way. So I'm at 35 or 36 hours, level 54. I've beaten the second mandatory boss.
Okay,
Trying to
cool.
stay spoiler free, but very cool boss. And yeah, I'm kind of trying to, like, I don't know if 100% is the proper word because I don't even know how you would do that in this game, but I'm like clearing every area as much as I want to before moving on to like the clear next zone.
Right. And then Jill, how far are you?
Now, before I get into this, I want to start off by saying that I, being lovely and coming onto the podcast to talk about everyone, excited to see all your beautiful faces, was insulted this morning.
Insulted? Okay.
Yes.
Sure.
I came on and Alex Stadnick
Oh, yeah.
implied that I may not have played Elden Ring at all, and I am not having it.
And then he said it's because she's a girl. And
Oh.
I said, "Whoa,
Yeah,
Alex!
What's
What
up
the
with
heck,
that?
Ladies and
dude?"
gentlemen,
Yeah.
I'm offering my full resignation here as the host. It's been a
Yeah.
great run, a successful
Yeah.
run.
This guy sucks.
You know, I blame cancel culture. Frankly, you know, it's not
Oh,
my
God.
actions. You know, it's
God.
the culture around it.
I cannot wait to read the comments
That's
for
good.
this video.
Yeah.
That's
Listen,
good.
we don't have cancel culture. We got accountability culture, my man.
Mhm.
And you're going down. All right.
Alex
Also-
Stadnick with a straight face said girls don't play video games.
He did, and then he said they don't fart. And I was like, "Whoa, dude!
That's
Talk
a
to my
step too
wife."
far.
All right.
I would tell Kayla you said that.
Dude's
please do.
tweeted it. Man's tweeted
Yeah.
it. She knows. Yeah.
But this
I
is
feel
also
like-
a great first step for the redhead takeover. as well.
Yes.
What's up?
Oh,
Give me
this
the
is
So, Jill, I'm
Cool.
sorry to interrupt with a bad joke.
This is a coup. Listen, look at that. Yeah, we got 3 of y'all.
I
didn't-
love how our joke about Alex saying girls don't play Elden Ring was to just talk over the girl on the
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
really
right,
great comedy,
yeah.
right?
yeah, really good stuff. we
I
did there,
apologize,
guys.
Jill.
Yeah.
Please continue.
Sorry, Jill.
That's okay.
what are you at?
I am in a similar boat to Wes. I, because of other things, Assassin's Creed included, that needed to be played for work purposes, I am in the 35-hour range at this point. I have beaten both the first 2 bosses.
It sounds like I am the least far of all of you. I've only played this game in 3 sittings, but in those settings or I've played like 15 hours. Like it's been binge sessions each time. And I just beat Godric, and I'm like staring out
Nice.
into the next area. And I just it really did feel like the plateau moment in Breath of the Wild, where it's like, oh, I'm just getting started. Like, here we go. Given where everyone is at, right? Like, what is, I guess we can start with like impressions. Alex, we can start with you, or Jill. I know you haven't played it, but from what you've read online, you want to talk about like where you're at, or like impressions wise, where you're at with the game?
I think I'm probably where a lot of people are. It's astounding. It's an absolutely amazing experience. I've always been a Souls fan, and this just takes away the one sort of drawback that a lot of them have, where you get stuck in one place and you can't move any farther, and you beat your head against a wall. And for this one, it's like it's almost literally the point of the game to go do something else if you get into that situation. So I love this game. I love walking around the corner and seeing a thing. I'm like, oh no, I'm not going anywhere near that, and then like killing it a second later.
Right.
So absolutely in love.
Wes, how about you?
It is like quickly approaching possibly becoming my favorite game of all time.
Dang.
Wow.
I'm just like enamored with it. All I do is think about it. It's all I want to do when I get off work. I'm doing the whole like eating lunch in 3 minutes and then playing Elden Ring for the rest of my lunch break. I'm waking up early to play it. I'm staying up way too late to play it. Like I'm even doing fun things like seeing the Batman and still thinking about Elden Ring during it, which that's a cool movie. And I'm just like, I kind of would rather be home playing Elden Ring. And it's become a like party game for me and my friends. Like we log in and we go into each other's worlds and we kind of just run around and we don't really have any goals. We just kind of kill stuff and have fun with each other and, chat. We've got friends from out of state and stuff. So it's kind of become like our weird social game, which is not something I ever thought would happen with the From Software title, but it has become that.
That's super unique. I feel like I haven't heard a lot of people playing it that way. Are you?
I have a dumb question for you, Wes.
Yeah.
If you help a friend beat a boss that you haven't beaten, do you get credit for that, or do you have to they have to come to your world?
They have to come to your world.
Okay,
So when you're summoned as like a cooperator, you're just there to help.
that's what I thought.
You do get the runes, I believe, though, which
That's
is
what's up.
interesting. So you can kind of like farm around that.
Okay.
And then your friends can jump into your world. And so really, if you're playing with 3 people and you all need to beat Godric, for example, you could all get like 3 times the amount of runes. If I remember correctly, we don't really fight bosses too much because it kind of kicks people, or it does kick you out afterwards.
Yeah.
But we did fight Margit, I believe, together for one of our friends, and we all got runes.
That's
Word.
real. Okay, good to know that.
Good time.
Yeah.
It's really hard though. Really hard when you're playing with people. I mean, I'm sure someone's gonna say like it's easy mode or some BS like that to play with friends, but like they buff up the bosses so much if you're playing with people, to the point where, and I wrote a piece about this on the site, but like fighting Margit or Godric, one of them, 3 people, we could barely get him down to like half health, and then on my own, I could get him down to like 10% of his health left easy, and then I eventually beat him by myself, which I wasn't able to do with my friends. So like don't go in expecting to just like ram through bosses with your friends, but it's its own unique challenge.
Yeah. Cool. I like that. Mr. Hester,
What's up, baby?
I recall 2 weeks ago us being on the
Mhm.
podcast and Dan proclaiming that this could be the greatest thing since sliced bread. And
Yeah.
you said, "Excuse me? What kind of slander are you saying here?" But 63 hours later, where are you at with this?
No, I still think that's a wild thing to say about a game that's not out yet. But look, I've tried all the games by those nasty little freaks at From Software, those sadists over there sitting in their office making these mean little games. Never thought they'd be for me. I played Sekiro, I played Bloodborne, bad games. I'm not good at them, so they suck as far as I'm concerned. I got Elden Ring, and I was like, is this gonna be it? Is this finally gonna be it? And I tell you, I call him out on this show, Jacob Geller. This
Drop it.
man, this little Jacob Geller was running his mouth. He is like, Blake, this isn't gonna be it. You're not gonna like this one. This is not gonna be the one that changes your mind. And so I'll be honest, I was like, I'm gonna spite him. I'm gonna love this game to show him. I didn't talk to him for like 5 days. I went on a vow of silence and just played Elden Ring. I muted our Discord group chat we have together. Didn't post for an entire weekend. And I
How
got
did they get their fill of Reagan?
sorry. Talk You don't get Reagan. And I came back like 20 hours later after that weekend, and I was like, Jacob, guess what? I beat Margit, and I love Elden Ring. And he had to apologize for telling me I wouldn't like it.
Here's the
He-
thing, though. Jacob Geller is a very smart individual. I bet you it was part of the plan. I bet that was a
Oh.
reverse psychology
Ooh,
situation.
mind
He
games.
knew
No,
Blake. He was
no,
like,
no,
Too much
no. I
credit,
know
too much
Jacob
credit,
very
yeah.
well. I know Jacob very well. He's not reverse. No, this game's great. I'm just kidding. I don't think the other. So I'm not kidding about the Jacob thing. I did play it despite him. I don't think the other Souls games are bad. They just were never for me. They have the boss runs, and that's bad design. But like otherwise, I think the games are cool, and they just never gelled with me. This one's great. I mean, what can you say about it that people haven't already said? I think the Breath of the Wild comparisons don't really make sense to me, but I do like that the world is gigantic and incentivizes exploration. I don't think the game is as immersive semi or systemic as the Breath of the Wild world in a way I wish it actually was. It's like, yeah, you can go anywhere and do anything, but also to beat this boss, you kind of have like two paths in front of you. You can't really bend the game around your finger or do weird things to
We were kind of talking about this at
beat
the
it.
coffee shop. Like
Yeah.
the exploration, the extent of it is, will this action I'm doing kill me? Yes or no?
Yeah, yeah.
I know the rule now.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of hard rules in it that I think Breath of the Wild kind of eschewed, and that's what made that game fantastic. But anyway, no, this game's great. I think it's all I want to do. It's all I enjoy doing. I haven't played Fortnite in like 2 weeks, which is astounding to
Yeah.
me. I'm reviewing something right now, and game I'm reviewing, which I can't talk about, I guess.
You're gonna do,
When it
you're gonna be
came,
that guy.
it's my most anticipated of the year. So wink nudge if you've heard me talk in other podcasts. When the code came in, I was like, oh, I can't play Elden Ring as much now. Like that's how much I'm liking this game. That the game I wanted the most this year. I was a little bummed when it came in. Not to complain about getting free games like idiot.
Yeah, man, get off your pedestal.
But it's amazing. I'm constantly astounded that they have a game this big that they developed in this short a period of time. I hope the working conditions on that were good because oh my god, the game is huge, and I just love exploring every nook and cranny. And I'm not a person who takes time out of to explore in games. I don't care, just critical path all the way through. And in this one, I'm like, yeah, we'll go check out that thing. It does a really good sightline navigation that Breath of the Wild also did, I guess, where it's like, what is that thing on that corner? And then you get to that one and it's like, oh, there's something over there. And you go over there. And next thing you know, it's 3 a.m. and you got to work the next day. And you're like, oh, what excuse am I going to use to get out of the morning meeting?
Oh, I'm
I gotta
walking
take care of-
Reagan. Yeah.
Oh, I got to take care of Reagan.
Yeah.
And say at 10:23 still in bed. That's
I have a
joke, right?
question for everyone on the panel. Sorry to interrupt, Blake. But I'll start with you, Blake.
What's up?
One of the questions, this is the way to tell where people are at in the game without spoiling anything. What color is the sky in the area you're in right now?
It's real snowy. It's white.
Okay, white sky. Jill, what about your sky?
I have seen skies. This sounds like a good start to like a poem. I have seen multiple skies and
Ooh.
all beautiful. Some I believe are kind of purplish in nature.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wes, what about you?
So I most recently saw a red sky, and I noped
Oh.
out very
Mhm.
quickly.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then I
See
noped
that
out
one.
into a place I didn't know existed with a very pretty starry purple sky.
Ah.
Just
And it's
enjoying
sort
that
of
a lot.
Lothlorien sounding, right? Anybody else get that vibe? Because I was just like, bring on the elves.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually. And lastly, Stadnik, what color is the sky where you're at?
My skies have still been blue and stormy. It was forced upon me to witness a red sky, which I about crapped my pants the first time that happened.
Yeah.
But actually, it turned out pretty well for me. And once I got Torrent and went back there, so. But yeah, still, I have seen the purple twinkly sky. I have been destroyed by the crab that resides below in there as well, and I have no
There's
idea.
a lot more in there too.
Yeah, I was gonna say I hit a certain point in that area where I was like, I am lucky to be alive now. I'm gonna find one more site of grace, and I'm gonna get the hell out of here because I know this is not for me at this point.
Yeah.
So,
You know what's wild about this game is the way it like. I mean, this is old hat for anyone who's played any of those other freaky From Software games, but like the way it just like everything about it feels so good that it like makes you want to actually engage with its mechanics in a way like as a player I don't do. Like when I play a game, I'm like, just give me what's gonna help me brute force my way through. I don't want to. It's really cool. You got 100 different menus and options, but like I'm not doing that. But in Elden Ring, like the game actually pushes me to want to engage with things that in other games I would not care about. Like I respect my character. Which in any other RPG, I'd be like, no, I chose this. Maybe it's not right, but I'm going to figure out how to
Do
get
it
to the
anyway.
end
Yeah.
of this game this way. And in this one, I'm like, yeah, let me try a different build. And I'm constantly like trying new equipment loadouts. Like I was doing magic for a little while. Then I switched to more of a strength build. Now I'm doing a blood build, which I'm breaking the game around my finger. Just like with this crazy blood build. I'm like hearing about a new Ashes of War, you know, I'm constantly like looking things up. That's part of the appeal to me is like hearing about something in a YouTube video and being like, oh, I need to go find that thing. And then like, it's like, okay, well, this Ash of War, I thought I would never take off my character. Now I found this new one and the old Ash of War, it's dead to me because I want to try this new thing. And I'm constantly like experimenting with the game in
There's
ways
a sword out there doing that now. Lots of people talking about this
Yeah.
special sword that breaks the game.
love that.
Yeah. I just got the mimic tier as well. Which is
Oh
like,
yeah.
yeah, just got that. I haven't used it yet, but it's like I feel like it leads me to experiment in ways only like arcane games do, and they were very special in that I would want to engage with all their mechanics. And in most games, I'm like, I don't care. I'm just getting through it to get through it. I think that's great game design. You know, those little weirdos over From Software, they know how to make them. They know how to make them.
Yes, they do.
Little tiny tip for anybody playing this game using the mimic tier. I'm not gonna say what the mimic tier is. If you have it, you know what it is. When you're using the mimic tier, Dan Tack told me this. Put items on your equipment bar because the mimic tier will have access to them. And maybe don't use those items yourself, but just have them on the bar.
Mhm.
And the mimic will essentially have infinite access to those items. Pretty handy tip that changed the game for me with the
Infinite.
mimic tier.
That's
Interesting.
that's wild to me because like I said, I'm like 15 hours in, and literally nothing you said made sense to me. It's like
Yeah.
I feel like I'm supposed like in normal games, right? I feel like I would have everything under like my belt, right? I understand like core mechanics and everything like that, and I have to a certain extent, but like just so much more to this experience that I haven't gotten to yet, which is still very exciting to me. And I think one of the main things I was worried about coming into this, right, was feeling overwhelmed. I was like, well, I already feel threatened by the combat because From games have not stuck with me yet. And then you're telling me there's almost no guiding force in this. And I was like, oh, like that's why I wasn't like, everyone was talking about it in the office, right? And I was like excited to try it, but I was like, I don't know if this is going to be for me. But having no quest log, having no guide in that way, I think is one of its strongest qualities because of everything you guys talked about and just its ability to immerse you in its exploration. Like I actually think that I just, like I said, I just beat Godric and Margit, right? I actually think that was the least part of my experience because it did feel like more of a classic From thing where it's like, okay, I can fast travel wherever, right? But I'm not getting that sense of exploration that I'm loving so much from Limgrave in the outside world and now that I'm in the castle, it's like, okay, there's kind of one path, and I resort to my toxic brain of like, I need to get through this. I don't care what else is in front of me. So, which is interesting. Yeah.
Especially coming off like, I mean, most video games, but most recently Horizon Forbidden West, where like Aloy never shuts up. Like the amount of times I walked into an area and I was like, oh, it seems like there's a cool puzzle here. And 2 seconds later, Aloy tells me the solution. I'm like, why did you design this puzzle then? Just make it a hallway I'm going to walk through if you don't actually want me to engage meaningfully with your game. Like Elden Ring completely bucking all those like handholdy handholdy design elements is so cool, and I found it already affecting the way I play other games. Like I'm playing a different open world game right now, and I turned off most of the HUD
Wow.
because I found it like because I was bouncing between it and Elden Ring, and Elden Ring tells you nothing. And then I would play this game, and I was like, it's telling me too much. And I started turning just everything off. Like I was turning off like the mission, like here's what you need to go do. I made the mini map as tiny as possible so I could barely see it, and
Mhm.
like it's completely changing how I even interact with other video games.
Yeah. Games that don't tell you anything and let you have the sense of discovery and like just let you walk through things. Those are great games.
Yeah,
They
Those
are.
are fantastic.
They are
Yeah.
really, really great.
yeah. I feel like if you were to focus test Elden Ring the way Sony seems to focus test most of its games, like it would come back with so many red marks. Like you're not telling the player anything. You're not keeping them on the critical path. And it's like, well, actually, this is like such a better design philosophy than, Peter Parker talking to me every 4 seconds. It's like just let me out here and enjoy your world. Don't like try to navigate me to what you deem most important. And I think that's so much more meaningful where I find something in Elden Ring that's important to me rather than, what someone I've never met in an office somewhere thinks is the most important part of their game.
I like that Elden Ring gives you like the tools to like if like my map, for example, I wasn't using it at first, but now I'm marking it up like a freaking cartographer.
Mhm.
Like when I beat a place, I put a flag down. If I find a chest that takes me somewhere, I put like a skull there. If there's a boss I can't beat, I put a sword.
Yeah.
Like I'm using this map in ways I've never used a map. And at the end of my journey, it might look like something in Horizon Forbidden West, for example, where there's a ton of markings all over it, but they're like unique to me and they're mine and I know exactly what they are and it's not overwhelming because I'm building this map. Whereas just to talk about Horizon Forbidden West, because that's the other game I'm playing right now, like, yeah, opening the map is very, very overwhelming, especially
Mhm.
after Elden Ring. Like, there's just so many like objectives and things to do, which is great on its own, but going back and forth between the two, it's crazy shell shock.
Yeah.
And
I also like the way. Sorry, I cut you off.
No, you're good.
I also like the way that part of a big tenet of this game, I think, is breaking it. Like, when I played Sekiro, it felt very much like you have to learn how to become perfect at this game. Otherwise, you're not going to get through. And like the Souls games, it's like, if you can figure it out and it works for you, just do it. Like there was a guy in a castle who was real hard, but I found out I could get him in a doorway and then I could just whack on him and he
Yep.
couldn't hit me. That's like some players might be like, "Oh, you cheated the game, you cheated yourself," and it's like, "Shut up, you're an idiot." Who cares? I
Right?
I
Yeah.
love the feeling. Like my favorite thing, if I'm role playing anything, it's like in Elden Ring, getting by the skin of my teeth, not
Right.
feeling like I mastered anything, like I lucked through it. I'm getting out with no flasks left, and I'm one hit, but I beat the boss. It's like I'm covered in blood. Is it the bosses or my own? I don't know. Like I love the feeling of just like, man, I should not be surviving anything of these 63 hours. That feels so fun to me.
Right. That's a sentiment I've been hearing a lot, and I really,
Mhm.
really appreciate that because there's basically there's no cheesing in Elden Ring. You
Yeah.
know, you beat that boss. No matter how you beat that boss, you beat that
Beat
boss.
it.
You did it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's so like anti like elitist feeling that I really enjoy because it feels
Mhm.
like a lot of times from software games have this get good um kind of mentality to them or the community talks people are worried about that sort of
Yeah.
idea, but like this is absolutely, I mean, I would argue with that in a lot of other from software games. That's the philosophy too, but
Yeah.
here it's just like if you can do it, do it. And it makes it feel really a lot more real to me because if I in real life were put in a situation where there's this giant thing coming at me, yeah, I would hide and throw rocks at it if I
Yeah.
could.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Yeah, I certainly do not feel like I've gotten good at this game. I feel like I'm as bad as I was at hour 1, and I'm just learning, like, how can I beat it? Like
It maintains that through the entire game. Like the
Yeah.
last boss, I tweeted this about the last boss I finished. I had no flasks left. I had maybe like 25% health, like literally one shot away from dying. And it was like 2 a.m. And I'm just like, the only way I'm gonna beat this boss is if I just like am unrelenting in my attack right now. Otherwise, I'm dead. and it was just like this like last minute like Hail Mary, like, oh my god, I'm out of stamina, one more hit, come on.
Yeah.
And like
The way
screaming like at 2 a.m. my wife's trying to sleep. I'm like whisper screaming like, oh my god,
And then he
to
gets
my friends in
shot with an
Discord. Like,
arrow from the other
yeah,
room.
like it maintains that, I think,
Yeah.
through the entire game, and it's
the
awesome.
way the way I beat almost everything in this game is not doing any of the real attacks, your heavy or your light attacks. It's just doing my blood / Ash of War.
Yeah, hey, fair.
Yeah.
I'll learn a boss's moveset and learn when I have the time to get off an Ash of War attack because it gives
Yeah.
me that like immediate satisfaction of like 600 to 700 damage on everything.
Mhm.
And so it's like I don't even know the last time I swung my sword with the R1. I'm just
Regularly, yeah.
L2ing my way through the entire
I
game.
feel that way too about the guard counter. It is. It feels like it's cheating. It is so good.
I use the jellyfish summon on Godric, and if the jellyfish hits so many times, it poisons the enemy, right? So I finally got him poisoned, and then I was able to just focus on dodging the rest of the fight. Yeah, and I think that's been the highs and lows of the online reception to this game. I feel like the first 2 weeks this was out, there was this celebratory thing that we're talking about, right? Where it's like, oh, cool, you found that door door to hide in and kill the crab or whatever. Nice. Like, I feel like it was more celebratory at the start, but now I'm starting to see some of the, for lack of a better term, heads online. Who it is like, well, if you don't have your dex
you're
build,
a mage
like
build?
like, oh wow, you've
Oh.
never played Elden Ring, like that kind of.
I have seen those comments too, and it's nice to see when people push back against that.
Yeah.
And like, I'm seeing the common sentiment, like Jill was talking about, of hey, it's in the game, it's fair game, like fair
Right.
play.
Yeah.
Like they put that tool or that they put all of this stuff in the game for a reason.
Right.
Use it how you want to, you
Yeah.
know?
And I do think those first 2 weeks, like, kind of changed my mind on the Souls community a little bit because I did think it was very gatekeepy and what the toxic things we talked about. And obviously it's still there as we can see, but it's like this kind of opened my eyes to the good people of the people who play that,
And to give credit to them, some of the funniest people that have ever lived are the people who put notes in Elden
The
Ring.
comments,
Right.
Yes.
They are. Last night, I walked up somewhere and I saw 3 notes, and the first one said "liar ahead." The second one said "hidden path ahead." The third one said "no hidden path ahead," and I was like, "Which one's the liar?" Turns out there's no hidden path ahead. That was so
I was
funny.
running through a gauntlet of people last night playing in like one of the optional dungeons, literally surrounded by. It's got to be like Godric Castle levels of enemies, like like when you're running up the front gate. It was essentially that again, and I'm running for my life, trying to like I don't want to fight these people. I just want to get to where I'm going, and I see this message like over in front of a door, and I was like, oh my god, there's a secret. Like that's where the site of grace is or something, and I run out of my way, jump down. I'm essentially like just surrounded by these people now, and I walk up or rather sprint up to the thing, and the message just says door, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm going to kill whoever left this message. The people who just leave like dog messages next to like other
Horses,
creatures
Like a
or
donkey.
Or
Yeah.
turtle,
or just like door next to a door. I'm like, you people are so stupid. I laughed out loud and then I died, and I was like, fair play.
Yeah. Alex, do you have any other thoughts before we kind of wrap up the segment? I don't think we called on you for your impressions yet.
One of the best games I've ever played. I thought I had this secret fear on the back of my head, like in the first 15 to 20 hours of Elden Ring. I was like, I'm loving this, but when's it gonna stop? When am I gonna like put this thing down? And I was always kind of afraid because I have had that urge in plenty of other games that I love. It's like, oh, well, it's kind of waning, that desire to explore. I was like, oh, I'm only gonna get like halfway through this, aren't I? But no, like it kept me engaged like through the whole game, and like towards the end, I just kind of wanted to see what was next in the story. Like I feel like the first half of the game, the story is really like, oh, okay, I don't really know what's going on, and then you start to piece together this world and the lore and like the characters' relationships with one another are really interesting. And you're never sitting there going through, a cutscene where they're talking to each other, but like just the references that you start to put together and the hints that the items in the game give you. You're like, wait a second, this person is like this person's dad, and they were married to this person in their first marriage, and then now they're married to this god, and just the web of lore that has been spun from this game
No,
is
not Love
really
Island,
interesting.
Elden Ring.
Yeah, not love. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Shout out to Love Island. But yeah, it was really cool to experience as a game, and I'm glad I beat it. It's a really cool game, and I felt like the ending. I've now looked up all the endings, and I like the endings better than the other. Well, I've really only beaten one other From Software game, was Bloodborne, and I felt like this ending was much more clear, and I felt like I was rewarded for my effort in the end, and not given some like really weird thing that I have to go and search for online. Like, what does this mean? Like, I felt like it did a good job of like, okay, here's how the story plays out.
Right.
And yeah, I really liked it a lot.
I am curious to
Goaty so far.
the what?
I said goaty.
Cody. I mean, I was gonna say it does feel like, and obviously
It'll be hard to beat. I'll say that.
I've only been here 2.5 years, but it does kind of feel like after Last of Us came out in 2019, Last of Us 2 came out, and where everyone was kind of like, this is the game, right? Like, I know we have God of War, we have what?
You mean in our Game of the Year discussions that year?
Yeah,
I'm still mad about that. We should have given it to Hades.
Oh yeah, well,
I raised my hand for that.
Yeah.
But regardless,
yeah,
it feels like
it feels like it's gonna be hard to top Elden Ring at this point. But we have a lot of year left. We have God of War. We have
Neon White.
Yep.
Breath of the Wild 2,
Aaron Breakfast.
maybe
Yep.
Cult of the Lamb, Tunic, that kind of stuff. So
Anybody's game.
anybody's game.
I can talk about Neon White if we're still on the playlist.
We are not.
No,
on
we
the
have to
playlist.
go
Yeah.
because I have something I have to go do.
Yeah, we're gonna take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Game Informer show. You've reached the point of the show, housekeeping, where we tell you what's new in the world of Game Informer. And then coming up next, we're going to be getting into listener emails. We usually start the housekeeping with a new review. We don't have a new review this week. We have finally gotten through our backlog of awesome reviews. Thank you, everybody, for doing that. So if you want to go leave us a review, that would be amazing. We'll give you a shout out, say thank you on the show. There is a new review. Catherine, oh my God, my great grandma left us a review on Apple Podcasts saying, Alex, you need a raise. I love you. You are really handsome. Okay, the typical stuff my great grandma says. But thank you, Catherine, for leaving that 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. We really appreciate you, Grandma. Miss you. Hope you're doing well.
Imagine if she
moving
left
on.
a 3-star review.
Oh, dude, that'd be so messed up. 3-star review. You need to eat more. Something
You're looking too
you're
thin.
you're looking thin. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, Grandma. Weekly streams this week. We've got our Thursday stream. I think we're still figuring out what we're gonna play, but I think myself or Alex are going to be running that. Twitch.tv/Game Informer, 2 p.m. Central. Maybe we'll play Elden Ring. Maybe we'll play something different. But regardless, Thursdays are the day of the week. You can always expect us to be streaming. Again, 2 p.m. Central, twitch.tv/Game Informer. Same thing for Fridays at 2 p.m. And then multiplayer Monday. We got to figure out what we're going to be playing on Monday. But I think I'm feeling like we need to bring that segment back this week. That's kind of like our streaming section that happens when we have time. But usually that is at 9 a.m. on Mondays. Lastly, we got a bunch of stuff. Forspoken is our new cover. Ton of stuff. Alex, Jill, Kim, you all got to go and see that game. Jill, what's that game about? What's Forspoken about, very quickly?
Forspoken is about a young woman named Frey Holland who is sitting in New York having a sort of bad time and is mysteriously transported into a magical realm where everything's trying to kill her.
Okay. Well, if that sounds interesting, go check out GameInformer.com/Forspoken. We've got the cover story. We've got all sorts of great stuff on the website. And then we've got YouTube videos coming with some exclusive gameplay.
Yeah.
So go check out all of that. GameInformer.com/Forspoken, YouTube.com/GameInformer. Almost done. Social media plugs. Follow Jill at FinRuin. Follow Wes at LeBlanc Wes. Follow Blake Hester at Metallica is rad. He's saying no. You can follow Alex Stadnick at Studnick76, and you can follow me at It's Van Aken. Lastly, go check out all of our other podcasts. Video Gameography, hosted by Marcus Stewart. All Things Nintendo, hosted by Brian Shea. And From Panel to Podcast, our new comic book show, hosted by EIC, Andrew Reiner. Alex, let's get into listener emails.
Let's do it. This, one of the best parts of the show, where we get to hear from you, the listener. Send in your questions, your queries, your thoughts, your dreams, your nightmares, the whole thing. And you can do that by sending it into GameInformer.com, podcast at GameInformer.com, our email, or you can send it in a Discord, which, Alex, quickly, how do they do that?
Yeah, link your Twitch to Discord in the Discord app. Go and subscribe to the Twitch channel. Again, twitch.tv/GameInformer. Use your Amazon Prime sub or just do a normal tier 1 sub one time. That'll get you access to the Discord server. It'll show up in your integrations in the Discord app. Some people seem to be having problems again. I think Discord sometimes just likes to disconnect our channel from Discord. So if you're having issues with it, email me, alexvanaken at GameInformer.com, with proof that you subscribed, and I'll get you in there. No worries.
Yeah. So let's get it going here. The first one comes from our Discord. Judonkdonk writes in, Elden Ring, I find it the most satisfying thing is to run into a mob guarding an item, grabbing it, then running away. What little thing brings you the most satisfaction?
I've got one.
Okay, let's do it.
So when I get to an area I'm not supposed to be in Elden Ring, like very clearly not supposed to be in, and I can find out by hitting an enemy and not seeing the health bar move, I like to either nope out, which happens sometimes, but if I sense like maybe that there's a grace point nearby, I will just sprint to it with all the enemies in tow, and then you rest at the grace point and you watch them all disappear, and it's amazing. So lovely.
I have a real love of killing these darn birds. All of these flying
The
creatures
birds are
that come at
so
me.
stupid in this game. I hate them. Oh my
Anytime
god.
I can take them out with like one shot, or I like just swing upper hand and manage to catch them before they hit their dumb beaks on my face, is a good day. I always appreciate that.
I like the sound Torrent makes when you double jump. I think not to get into the foley of it, but it sounds like somewhere in there is just one small hit of a tambourine. It's a little jingle it does, and I love it. I will double jump just to hear that sound over and over. Also, like, I don't know, doing the blood slash when I have like 4 really like low power enemies in front of me and just one shots all of them. That's really good. But my favorite thing in the game and why I've spent 63 hours playing it is the sound of Torrent double jumping.
I think, yeah, whenever you roll up, I use Godric's axe as my main weapon, and it has a special Ash of War called Thy Shall Kneel or something, whatever his line is in the game. And you essentially like take it with both hands and slam it on the ground and do a shockwave. I love running into a room of enemies that are asleep or like not aware and going into the middle of them and doing my special art of war and just like one-shotting everybody in there because I'm super ridiculously over leveled, and have like 50 strength and just slamming the ground and one-shotting them all. It's great.
Good question. This week, we also have an email right in from Keith, aka the rocket scientist. Keith says, "What's a world's first?" Let's see. Looking back at your time as a gamer, what mechanic from the game did you uncover that just blew your mind or wrinkled your brain?
Sort of the most recent example I can think of is Ghost of Tsushima. There is a ability to bow in that game, and it doesn't really do anything. It's just like if you want to play a particular role, and since I was going through, I'm like, yeah, I think my Jin is going to be like super polite, and so he's going to be bowing to everything. So when I got to the Golden Temple, there is a bodhisattva at the end that I bowed to just because that would be the proper thing to do, and my Jin, being a genteel human being, did that. And all of a sudden there were just butterflies burst all around me out of the statue. I was like, that is so fantastic. I cannot believe that worked out, and I love this game now.
Mhm.
So anytime a game has something where you're like, I wonder if this would do anything, and then it does, and it shocks you, is like a perfect game.
That's a good one.
That's a really good one.
I think my original idea was gonna be Portal. Just playing that for the first time when it in the orange box, being blown away. But I'm actually gonna pivot. I'm gonna say Titanfall.
Mm.
Uh, calling down a Titan, like the sequence of calling down a Titan, running across a wall, running, jumping through a window, jumping out the window, and then jumping onto your Titan, being sucked in like that. And that whole sequence and how like it's all pretty much like it's not like a one camera thing, but they make it feel like there's never a break in the action. Like, oh, I'm jumping, I'm running, I'm being sucked in, and I'm seeing all of the parts of the Titan cockpit move together to suck me in, and just like taking control that way. Oh, that was like such a cool moment in Titanfall 1.
That's a good one. I think for me, I go back to like Pokemon Yellow when I was a kid and really was just learning about what these games were. The idea of trading in that was so mind blowing at the time too, especially when like you'd send over a Kadabra and it would evolve into an Alakazam. Just your
Mm.
mind blew at that. My mind did, anyways. Of just like the sheer possibility of like what other Pokemon are you trading to get them to evolve and like learning. Oh, okay. Well, I can't get the starters are the only are only available at the start, right? So it's like maybe I can entice my buddy over here to send me like a Bulbasaur or something like that. I think that mechanic made it so much more communal for me, especially in like kindergarten and after school programs. And I formed bonds with my friends that way and that kind of stuff that some I still talk to today. So I think that is one of my favorite mechanics and it's like, it sounds old hat now, right? It's so duh, it's Pokemon, right? But like learning about that at the start back in like 2001 or whatever was amazing. Anyone
Can I
else?
change mine?
Yes, sure.
I'm trying to remember the name of this game. It's not out yet. It went viral on Twitter. So if anybody can remember Jill, you might know it. I feel like you would know it.
Okay.
The photography game to solve like platforms and try to get from A to B. You take a photo and the Polaroid comes out and you hold it up and look at it, and then you turn it in the environment and then it becomes part of the
Oh,
environment.
yes, I
You know what
do.
I'm talking about?
I do know this game. Moncage? Is
That
that it?
sounds something like that.
It's or Moncage. I think it's supposed to be like a clever play on things, but I have no idea.
Yeah,
Um,
if anybody knows what I'm talking about, that game when I saw the get
Moncage, and if it's the game, is it the one with the cube that you like
no,
twist around? Oh, okay. That's
but
a
that's
good game
another
too,
great
though.
one.
Check it out.
There's a lot of cool
Okay.
games coming up. There's also Blocky Dungeon, I think, that's coming up, and it's like Tetris, but like you're building a dungeon for a like dungeon crawler. That there's so many awesome games with cool mechanics coming out. But yeah,
Oh, anyone else?
sorry to derail.
No, you're good. Anyone else got one?
Yeah, Alex,
I
thanks for asking. Go ahead, Wes.
No, you got it. You got it. You had a good introduction and everything. You're good.
Yeah. In the video game Vanquish by Platinum Games, directed by Shinji Mikami, I believe his penultimate game as a game director. Don't fact check me on that, but I believe that's true. You have a dedicated button you press, and your character smokes a cigarette, and then he flicks the cigarette away. It was the coolest thing that's ever been put in a video games.
Okay.
They don't make them like they used to. I'll tell you what.
No, they do not.
Vanquish rules. And nothing will ever blow my mind harder than being a little kid and going into bullet time for the first time in Max Payne. That was the coolest thing ever. Shout out to my dad's coworker Ricky, he worked with at Kinko's, who burnt that onto a CD for us. Yeah, that's right. I played a stolen copy of that game when I was a kid. Come find me, cops. I went into bullet time and the bullets like whizzed past you. It was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. So those two.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time.
Wes.
Take my answer off the air.
So I have a bunch, but I actually just discovered one recently, and it's an Elden Ring. Funny enough, I will say it vaguely. It's not really spoilery, but just in case, because people. So you can hug somebody in Elden Ring, and it's a
No.
very sweet, calming moment in a From game, which is odd. It's very strange. It's seemingly has no like ulterior motive or purpose to it. But I recently discovered that when you do that, you lose 5% of your health, and you can only get it back by using something that she gives you. And I was like, it makes sense in a From game that Miyazaki has
Yeah,
put this
yeah.
super sweet moment where you get to hug somebody and just relax.
Mhm.
It has to hurt you. It has to hurt you.
Mhm.
God forbid we have this nice moment of reprieve. Nope, we lose 5% of our health. And you get it back by using the item you're given. But I was like, what?
You
The
know
same
how
thing.
many times I went in for a hug, and I was like, "What is?" I was like trying to figure out what the mechanic was. I was like, "She's." Oh my god, dude, that is so messed up. That is so
Uh-huh.
messed up.
Mhm.
Also, I remember the game. It's called Viewfinder. It's a
Oh.
mind-bending first-person adventure game where you can take pictures to life and step into other worlds. Look it
I
up.
got one more.
Okay.
In
Do it.
Nier Automata, spoilers, get over it. As the final boss, you start as 9S and you switch to 2B, and then you switch back to 9S. And throughout the entire fight, which goes on for like 10, 15 minutes, it gets faster, switching back and forth between them. So on the fly, you have to like be ready for your entire perspective to shift to another side of the boss arena. And like it was the coolest thing. I have no clue how they pulled it off, but by the end, it's like switching every second between the two characters, and you have to play as each of them for 1 second each. It's so cool.
That's awesome.
I don't
Yeah.
know how we can top it, so I'm not going to try. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Game Informer Show 594. We're coming up on 600. Can you believe that?
Maybe we'll be in the studio by then. That'd be cool. I don't know if we will be.
Don't make a girl a promise you
Maybe.
can't keep. Viewers, listeners, thank you so much. Your support means the world to us. We've had a really successful run of shows, which is very exciting. It's exciting when it's not, you know what I mean? Like it's exciting all the way through, but we really appreciate you. Give us your reviews. We'd love to read them. Good, bad, negative, or the whole thing. Maybe we won't read it on the show, but we'll definitely read them. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Forspoken next couple weeks is gonna be exciting, and probably more Elden Ring if we're being honest. But there's more games coming out. We promise that you should come back next week to hear more about. So be good to one another. Bye, everyone.